Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. That's right, it's Denim Dave, power recapper, the Yellowstone Yankee. Let's get into this. Jess and Becca, hosts of Chatty Broads, just released a video, I'm talking moments ago, called Why We Quit The Bachelor. Are they boycotting the show, or are they just bored? Are they over it? Well, we'll get into that. We're going to play a clip of it. You can go watch their full video on YouTube or listen to the podcast there. And by all means, do me a solid number and subscribe to this channel. You know, we have 100,000 loyal viewers and 50,000 subscribers, which means half of you statistically aren't subscribed. Hit the subscribe button, and I will reward you with a brand new channel, The Dave Neal Show, coming out very soon. More on that later. Don't forget, we have a live stream today, 5 p.m. East Coast, 2 p.m. Pacific. That'll be Clayton Eckhart's episode 2 preview with the adorable Hillary Duff. Can you believe that? What a combination there. Everyone's like, Clayton Eckhart's too white. They're like, bring in Hillary Duff. Haley's booked, bring in Hillary. All right, we'll get into that. Hillary, 1L. But first, I just made a video inside Colton's new LA home. I know, trigger warning, Colton Underwood, but actually, it's a fantastic video. Some of my best and funniest videos don't get as many views because they're so irreverent. We started looking at home listing prices in Montana and Bozeman, and we went off the rails. If you want to watch a video where I ramble about the need for microwaves in bathrooms, then that's the video for you. Check that out next. And first and foremost, let's get right into it. Again, just a clip. I'll play a few minutes of this chat between Becca and Jess, just released, Why They Quit The Bachelor, and then you can go watch the full hour and 16 minutes afterwards. But here's a clip.
Talk about it. So, Broads, we told you on our last episode, the Michelle finale episode, that we will not be recapping,
In case you missed it,
Clayton's season.
Yeah, and also, I know people were like, oh my God, how are you going to tease it, not explain it? I mean, I think we wanted to just be able to chat freely for like as much time as we wanted. It just didn't feel right to talk about like on the finale in depth.
Yeah, I also wanted to like, you know, I loved Michelle's season. There were so many good things to talk about the finale, and I didn't want to have us like, you know.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't the right time or place.
I wanted to talk about Nate and Michelle and Brandon.
But we did want to, I mean, I think we also wanted to talk about it before, I mean, when this episode's coming out, it's the 6th, which I think Clayton's premiering before. Like, I think it would have been confusing for people if we just, like, didn't release anything.
Exactly. It would have been like, so, you know, and we did these re-releases because we took, like, you know, a week, 2 weeks off with our family. But yeah, Clayton's season will have aired once you are listening to this podcast.
Yeah, so I think let's just get into, I think a lot of people are just like, why? And first and foremost, at least for myself, I guess I can't speak for Jess, but this is not, for me, any kind of like protest of Clayton. This is something that we had kind of been chatting back and forth about for a while. Mm-hmm. And then this seemed like a good opportunity to take a little break. Dude, we
taking a break.
Have recapped. Have you done the math?
12.
No.
15 years.
I'll do the math real quick. But we have like been going nonstop with Bachelor stuff for so long.
Well, you know, in the past 2 years with COVID, they've, you know, there's extra seasons and all that. And I will say the conversation did start when we thought that Greg was going to be the Bachelor. Because both Beck and I agreed we would not be comfortable.
Yeah, I didn't want to fucking watch 12 weeks of his stupid face on the screen.
We did not feel comfortable recapping Greg's season because we're like, we don't think that he should be the Bachelor.
Yeah. And I just like didn't want to watch it.
No. And so, you know, the thing is,
but then when we started talking about that, it was kind of like, okay.
All of a sudden the idea got thrown around and Becca and I started to talk about it. And there's been, I think, in the past 6 months, just a lot of like emotional and personal transitions in our lives a little bit. I'll speak for myself on this one. I have felt like I loved Michelle's season, but I felt like because of all of the Bachelor recaps, I was starting to feel a little apathetic in my recapping.
Totally.
And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm putting out my best work right now.
No, I definitely did not feel that way. I felt like
kidding.
I was begrudgingly like watching the show and then talking about it, which then then there's this attitude, and as much as I was trying to work on it, it was just this attitude of like, for myself, I started like evaluating how I was feeling even just like after recapping and feeling like bitchy and grumpy and also just like icky in my stomach and like this feeling of spending. This is just something I've been reevaluating in just like my personal life in general, like just thinking about how much time I personally was dedicating to just like shitting on people.
I think they're both such great voices and both beautiful.
Just been thinking about in social media entertainment in general. Like
it's no wonder they're popular.
I mean, I'm not saying this as if I did this years ago. Like this is very recent stuff and reevaluating like at what point is just talking about how shitty someone is productive and at what point is it just crap? What point is it just crap that is not feeding anyone's soul?
Yeah, I was just like I said, I'm like I felt like I was kind of apathetically recapping, and I don't know, like I feel like all of you broads have been with us through thick and thin. Like I feel like there is a sense of pride too in wanting to do a good job myself and also for all of you listeners. Like I want to do my best and I want to bring like joy and excitement and learning and all these things and do my best when I'm doing something. And I feel like in some of the recent days, I feel like I'm phoning it in and that doesn't feel like the right thing to be doing. And so when you and I started to talk about it, and throw around this idea.
Phoning it in is like my forte. That's what I do best.
Nervous is an understatement. Like I was shaking because this is gonna sound. I don't want this to.
Who's at a job right now phoning it in as you watch this? I'm on to you, Rebecca.
Number one Bachelor recap podcast.
Hey, new subscriber.
Statistically, I feel so weird even just like saying that, but. That's where we get a lot of numbers.
They're the number one podcast.
Consistently, you know, and we don't have and we're talking not having massive guests. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
Other podcasts can get the lead or their runner-up and they'll get big numbers on that. But we've been consistent in like our recaps and people really being invested in those.
And it means so much that people are invested.
And that's not a lie as far as like the most watched podcast recapper. My recaps have become... They went from my bread and butter to my least watch of all my Bachelor content. When you look at other independent people, you've got Bachelor Fan Take. He and I are right nose to nose on views. Last year, we got as much as 2.5 million views a month. But again, this is just on YouTube. And of course, I make a ton more content than Bachelor Fan Take. He's still the number one subscribed independent Bachelor show out there. Maybe not just for recaps, for everything he does. Chatty Broads, we've got about nearly almost 5 times as many views. Again, we make a lot more content, so I totally get that. And then Nick Vial, for those wondering, we've got 3 times, or close to 3.5 times his size. But he's catching up. You know, we had a race to 50. We hit 50 before him, but he's at 50,300. We just hit 50,500. So by all means, Nick Vial is knocking at heaven's door. Let's go back to this. Last moments here.
In those. And it means so much that people have supported this. And the idea of being like, this is a way that we make our bread and butter and it's doing well. And the idea of stepping away from that, even just for a time, feels scary.
Yeah.
And feels like this new, like, oh my God, what if everything flops and like, you know, all the listeners are gone and then.
Listen, I feel the same way. A lot of you guys do too. That when you know, Bachelor content is like a golden handcuff, right? It can be lucrative, but it's hard to step away, which is why I'm creating the Dave Neal Show, which is going to be non-Bachelor related content. For those that like what I'm doing, it'll, in my eyes, help me create. Oh, we got another subscriber there. It'll help me create content content. Boy, lots of subscribers coming in. Liz, thank you so much. This is gonna be distracting. I need to turn that new feature off. But it's like you want to play with the algorithm for the people that are there. For the people on YouTube that only want to watch Jess and Becca's YouTube content, when they make non-Bachelor stuff, their click-through rate is going to go down a percentage, and then YouTube's going to say your new content's not as good, and they're not going to get seen. That's just a fact. That's what's going to happen. They will take a hit when they don't put Bachelor, Bachelorette, Bachelor in Paradise in their SEO, when they're not speaking about that. Google, for those getting into YouTube, Google owns YouTube, and they scan what you say. There's a reason I open every show saying, Dave Neal here, host of Bachelor Recap, or, Bachelor Nation. I make sure I say Bachelor. I make sure I say Dave Neal. I don't even know my name, Dave Neal. It's key. It's not just someone being redundant. It's key to the search engine optimization of the content that you make. So if they do decide not to go Bachelor, they could expect a little bit of a hit, but that's okay. Leap in the net will appear. Try something new. I'll read a couple of your comments here. This is totally me reading into things that were definitely not said, but I'm curious if anyone else got a feeling that Jess didn't actually want to stop recapping. I feel extra weird about this vibe that I have about it because I'm pretty sure the financial aspect of the podcast was more important to Jess than Becca. Anyway, I hope I'm wrong and that they're both genuinely content with the decision. If not, that there's some solution that works for everyone. Well, according to what we just watched, it looks like it's a mutual decision. But I would agree, if Jess wants to keep recapping, she should start her own YouTube channel and recap. Or just make her recaps, if that were the case. And I don't know what their ownership is over Chatty Broads, but it is so hard to make content with other people unless you have like 50-50 ownership. I've tried it in the past. Someone always works harder than the other. It's like doing a group project in science. You know what I mean? You're like, listen, I dissected the whole frog and you're going to get an A for this, Timothy? Anyway. I will say, as someone who enjoys the Chatty Broads recap these past quarantine seasons, I've noticed Becca increasingly becoming negative throughout the season with one contestant and running with it for a while to the point where it's exhausting to listen to. Oh yeah, I mean that's what's interesting is what they're saying. Well, let's just play another minute and then we'll wrap it up.
Did we make this massive mistake? And da 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 da. And that's what I was like grinding with for so long. But then just as I've been evaluating everything, it was like. But then I pair that with like the
it's kind of getting brutal. We got to the point, right? Jess mentions we didn't get to the part of the clip, but it's getting a little redundant. You can listen to the whole thing. They're not being redundant. They're explaining it, but for the sake of brevity on our end, we'll get into it. Jess mentions that she wants to live more by the 4 agreements, and one of which is being impeccable with your word. Here are the 4 agreements. If you haven't read the book, you got to, but at least Google the thing. Speak with integrity, say only what you mean, avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Now, don't get me wrong. I'd be hypocritical to say I don't gossip about others, but I will say we do try to find the truth in understanding that people are trying the best with the information they have. They don't have to recap. And again, they can do whatever they want, but they don't have to recap the show and be snarky. They can elevate all the contestants. They can look at Sally Carson, right? The runaway fiance, and say, hey, maybe she was done wrong. Maybe her friends put her in this position and her heart wasn't ready to heal. And I'm not saying they don't say that. I don't listen to their podcast. They can look at Greg Grippo and say, oh man, while I don't want him to be the Bachelor, I can really understand that this guy must be going through hell with the death of his father and not having the proper therapy and outlets to discuss it all. And I couldn't imagine what it's like to have the weight of that on his shoulders while he tries to find love in X, Y, and Z. You can look at everyone and understand, short of psychopaths being a percentage, very small percentage of the population, most people feel pain. Most people feel heartbreak. Most people are trying the best with what they know. And if we applied some of the 4 agreements to life, maybe we won't hate people that have a different political party, because we'll understand that they're just getting a different type of media, or they're coming from a different family that has different priorities, but they are trying their best. And they may be misguided. But if we lead with the 4 agreements, don't take anything personally. What you think about me is none of my business. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best and be impeccable with your word. We can understand that life can feel easier. We can, hey, another subscriber. Look at that. Boy, you guys are just rolling it in. Anyway, you understand my points. I'm not saying Jess and Becca can't do that, but they've decided or came to the agreement that they're not fulfilling that right now with their Bachelor recaps. And good on them. Good for all of us to take 2022, early days of the year, which, by the way, my New Year's resolution, get the phone out of bed. get the phone out of bed. I am not allowing myself to look at my phone in bed unless it's to turn it on and see if I got like a notification. But I'm not going to scroll. I'm saying no to scrolling in bed. Bed's meant for other things. Sleeping in.
Be careful who you bang.
Be careful who you bang. And
you cut
all right.
crap.
So the point is, I'm happy for them. I hope they find what they're looking for, and maybe they'll come back to Bachelor. I'm assuming they will. I'm assuming they'll just take some time off, which some people need to do. Totally fair. Let me know what you guys think. We have a live stream coming up. Did I put the clip for that? And by the way, my favorite quote: "If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change." That's my favorite quote here, because it really applies to just, the fact that like they don't have to do the podcast looking at it from like a sinister lens or a bitter lens. And, maybe that's where it got to, but maybe taking a season off will get them to look at it in different ways. At 5 o'clock today, East Coast time, 2 p.m. 5 o'clock East Coast, 2 p.m. Pacific. I'll be doing my episode 2 preview live chat. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about that. And on non-live stream days, I'm going to be doing 5 o'clock phone calls. 401-213-9828. Let me know what you guys think. We'll see you in a little bit. Bye, guys.